obviously say yes. And when we assert that, we have to, I'm hoping today we can touch on several topics.
Exactly.
Because there are several things to look at when we're looking at these different religions and knowing which is going to produce better results. And that's the key here, which is going to produce better results.
Better results.
So, whole well-rounded thing here. So we're not talking about which we think is more moral. We're not talking about which we think is true. We're talking about which religion is going to produce better societies.
Exactly.
And in terms of several metrics, Christianity just outperforms Islam on many, many, many important things.
That is true.
So I will start with 3. I'm hoping to get to more because there's a bunch of things. So I would say, first of all, Islam allows and promotes child marriage.
True.
That is extremely bad for society. That leads to harm done to girls, harm to their offspring, which leads to inferior societies. Islam also allows cousin marriage.
That is true.
Christianity, because of our ecclesiology, has gotten rid of cousin marriage. So that means that we have produced better societies because more cousin marriage leads to lower IQ, more birth defects, and actually less economic prosperity.
Exactly.
And the third thing I'll bring up is actually the practice of polygyny. Islam does allow polygyny, but polygyny actually deteriorates society. If you don't know, polygyny is specifically, it's a form of polygamy where it's one man and multiple women. So polygamy can be one woman, several men, but polygyny is one man, several women.
That
So
is true.
those 3 things are 3 ways in which that Christianity has done away with through trial and error, through understanding of the natural world, through understanding of how we operate as a society, which has produced far better results.
Exactly.
So dive in.
Who wants to begin? Okay, yeah, so when it comes to the 3 critiques, I think obviously this needs some time to dissect. It's very general. There's a lot of data that we need to process. But to begin, what we're trying to compare with is obviously what we're establishing is that do we have Islam, we have Christianity. If implemented in society, which one yields the better results, right? In terms of moral values that we can both agree upon, right? Now, when it comes to the first one, you said, not only did you say that when we have Muslims that would practice child marriage, specifically said that Islam allows it. So I want to quickly focus on that. Where did you get the understanding from that Islam allows child marriage, given the fact that the messenger, peace and blessing upon him, explicitly says in an authentic narration, لا ضرر ولا ضرار, no harm, no reciprocating harm. So the messenger already explicates and says that when it comes to any relationship, if there's harm involved, it's going to be impermissible. So how do you get around that? Now, if you're going to argue that a more fundamentalist approach of the Quran and the Sunnah would allow for this, rather than a traditional approach, that's a different argument, but you specifically said that Islam allows for it. So what would be the evidence for that?
So yeah, great. So yeah, let's start with that. So with regarding the harm principle to start, that's obviously interpreted differently because, for example, Sahih al-Bukhari allows for the killing of apostates, but that's going to harm them, but you're not going to throw that out. You're going to allow self-defense wars in Islam, but that's going to cause harm to invaders, so that's obviously going to be interpreted differently. The 2 main ways we know that Islam allows and promotes child marriage is with the Quran says that Muhammad is the pattern of conduct, but he married Aisha when she was 6 and consummated the marriage when she was 9. That is a child. There's no biological way that could not be a child. Therefore, it allows child marriage. And then, of course, Surah 65:4, which does allow girls.
Beautiful. Do you guys want to jump in, or should I continue?
You were shaking your head. What did you want to say?
Well, I mean, I have many things to say. First of all, Islam does not in any way, shape, fashion, or form support any idea of pedophilia or underage marriage. Islam does not support anything like that at all. The Quran gives an age of marriage. It is very clear. It gives something called an age of marriage. And that age of marriage is when you reach puberty, essence.
Puberty. So puberty is when you're mature. Has a 9-year-old ever completed puberty?
Sure.
Really? According to what?
Sure. I mean, this is life. These are things that happen.
Yeah, when you look at, for example, the classical texts that you quoted, the Bukhari himself has a narration where Aisha refers to herself as a woman, right? So if you wanna internally critique our sources regarding what it says, regarding when the marriage happens.
You say internal or external?
Internal.
I'm not. This is external critique. This is definitely external critique.
How do you come to conclude that the marriage was at 6 and 9?
Because that's what your sources teach.
Beautiful.
But then you're also saying she's not a child, and I'm saying that's just incompatible with reality.
Okay.
There is no such thing as a 9-year-old woman. The hips on a girl do not develop until the ages of 15 or 17. Puberty is not complete. There is no possible world where it's biologically the case a 9-year-old could be anything but a child.
Okay. Would you say that in order to be able to conceive and bear children, etc., you would have to have gone through some of the stages of puberty?
You would have to go through all the stages of puberty. So, for example, there was a cross-sectional study done that actually showed that girls who were 15 and under had 4 times higher the rate of death in childbirth.
Okay, so you said that it's never happened where this was the case, right?
There's no case where a 9-year-old could have completed puberty now.
Okay, but hold on 1 second. I'm saying for somebody to get pregnant, they would have had to have gone through all the stages, correct?
No, they have to go through at least standard stage
type
4
of
because at the end of
question
standard
is
stage 4
Would
is when
you
they have
consider
puberty.
that person to be pubescent or prepubescent?
If they have their first period?
I'm saying they got pregnant, so they would have already.
If they got pregnant, then they're post-pubescent. Yes.
Good. So there's an example. I don't know if you know who it is. Her name is Lena Medina. She was 5 years old when she first got pregnant. Obviously, we don't agree with the means that she got pregnant by, but it's to show that it is the case that this is something that could still happen.
Okay, I got a question.
This is something that happened more
I got a
moderately.
question. So you said if they have their period, they're a woman, they're an adult, they're post-pubescent. Was that 5-year-old an adult?
Yeah, so insofar as what I asked you, I was asking you in regards to what your criteria is that you're establishing. Right now, I don't think there is a criteria that you're actually giving in regards to what is considered to be a child, what is considered to be
Okay,
adult.
I'll give it. You have to complete puberty. That is not completed till 15 to 17. That's why we as a society, we assign adulthood to the age of 18. Anything under 18 is a child.
Exactly.
That 5-year-old is not a woman. She's a child. She should not be married off.
Okay.
So how do you respond to the argument from natural law, which we see that, for example, Paul appeals to within Romans and Corinthians, that we can look at nature to be able to come to reason, and we see that there was no critique of this specific marriage of Muhammad والسلام, prior to the 19th century, which means that nobody prior to the 19th century made that critique, although he was criticized for other things, right? Other critics have made other points regarding it, but nobody made it regarding the marriage
can
between
we
him and
say-
Aisha radiallahu anha. So if you conclude that we both agree on the standard of natural law and coming to reason through nature and what God has instilled in us through who we are as human beings, and would agree that we would expect that if it was the case that it was wholly immoral during that time, how come we don't have that critique part of the
I got where you're coming from. Okay, so here's the first problem. Practically, a lot of the hadith were not known in the Western world.